Namah Shri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Surai Satchit Sukhaswarupaya Swami Tapuharine. Last time I said that Swamiji told his audience towards the end of the class that he is the person who is talking to you. He is the audience who is listening to this person. He is the platform on which the speaker is standing, and he is the light through which the speaker is seeing your faces. Everything is he. So this is a grand lesson, but some questions remain. If you go deeply into the subject, some questions remain. First of all, what is this I who is seeing the universe? That is one question. Or put in another words, who is man and what is man? So this is the most important of the questions, and this must be clear. And while clearing it, Swamiji goes to the standard Vedanta, or even I should say Vedanta comes from Sankhya. Even in Sankhya these things are there. But to the Western audience, these were very, very new things. They have not heard anything like this. He said that, you see, I am seeing you, what things are necessary. First of all, there must be light. And then he says that there must be the brain center for seeing. He's not saying the eyes. He's saying the brain center, which is responsible for seeing. Why is saying so? In standard books, they mention eyes. Swamiji did not deviating from the standard Vedanta in order to make this science compatible with the knowledge which the West has got. West has got an idea of the brain center responsible for different perceptions. So he's mentioning this. And otherwise, the question will remain that when man dies and the phantom appears, the phantom talks to you, phantom apparently sees you, how does it do it? Because his eyes are gone. Now, the question of the subtle body is being introduced here. That means the gross body is there, the subtle body is there. Along with the subtle body, these brain centers also goes. Otherwise, the phantom cannot see anything. That's why Swamiji puts it in that language. Then, the question of the mind. The mind must be applied to it. You see, if your mind is not in a thing, the brain centers will not take it. So the mind must be there. Still, another thing is necessary. The mind must carry it to the intellect, and then the intellect must present it to the king of the system, who is the soul. This is how he is putting it. And this is also in Vedanta, they put it like that. Now, the question is that when you say, why can't you stop with the mind? Why intellect and then positing the soul, etc.? The reason is this: the mind is changeful. As the body is changeful, the mind is changeful. And the idea of the soul in Vedanta is that it is self-illuminating. Saprakasha, that is the word used. Self-illuminating. It does not require any lantern or the sun or any light for it. As they say in the Upanishad, Yahul Manomatam. The mind is Yena, that means by whom the mind is acting, by whose power. Because the mind which is your changeful, mind which can be objectified, that cannot be, that is matter, and matter cannot be, it is dull and dead matter. It's, you see, it does not seem to be dull ordinarily, the mind, because of it is borrowing the light from the soul. That's why it is not there. See, so this is the how he is putting the whole thing. And though in general these are well known to the students of Vedanta, these are say, unheard of things to the audience in the West. So he put it like that. Now the question comes, Swamiji would deal one by one with the different yogas. And in yogas also, the one question, devotion, everyone understands. Almost all religions, except perhaps the Theravada in its extreme, and certain branches of Vedanta, which takes up this philosophy exclusively, there may be a lack of devotion. Or rather, I should say that there is a little belittling of the devotional idea. Normally, religions in the world are based on devotion, devotion and emotion. But what is not there in most of Abrahamic religions is that the question of icon, idol, which are called in India pratika, symbol. These symbols, they are not highly accented upon. In fact, the Protestant movement came out of it. Protestants said that, you see, Christians are deviating from the Abrahamic principle. They should go back to those principles. That means the laws of Moses, the second law, second commandment. You must not bow down before any representation of God. Now in India, India's experience is totally different. India has found that this is not only correct, this is the only way for ordinary person to progress. And when you stop it, you stop spiritual growth. Because man's mind is constituted in the same way, whether in India or in the West. Man's mind is the same thing. So you must have, you see, an ordinary person. For everyone, it is not necessary, those who are very advanced. And this advancement comes normally through earlier existences. So this question of this pratika and the idea of nishtha. Nishtha means you know that there are many kinds of symbols through which God can be approached, yet your liking is for one particular symbol and you stick to it. And while sticking to it, you see, sticking to an ideal has the danger that sometimes it may degenerate into fanaticism. That means you begin to hate other symbols. You think that others are sinners, etc. This is there. In fact, this is the main reason for bickerings among the religions. They have nishtha, but they do not have this liberal thing. Swamiji wanted people to have both. You must have nishtha, because otherwise you spend your energy in different directions and you do not progress. So you stick to an ideal till you get your maturity, till you get higher and higher states, and you know finally then, you see, you are convinced then that all other symbols also are totally valid. In fact, in India, thousands and thousands of aspirants had success in the sense that they got an elevation in spiritual life, which was, you see, because elevation in spiritual life comes with clarity of vision, with much more pacification of the mind, and a sense of lingering bliss. And finally, you begin to commune with the divine. God appears to you in the with the symbol in which you wanted him to appear, and begins to converse with you in a language which is intelligible to you. God knows all the languages of the world. So this is happening in India, and especially Sri Ramakrishna testified it many times, and some of his disciples also. For example, Gaurima, he took up this stone as her husband. That was the attitude with which he is, and had tremendous elevation. So it has been proved again and again by Sri Ramakrishna. So this second law, that is this commandment, second commandment, is basically wrong. Swamiji never, at least in the West, never said so that it is wrong directly, but in so many words he carried the idea. That is wrong. So that is one thing regarding bhakti. He tried to illustrate the fanaticism. He said a story which is pertinent, because this is the state of religion even today. It is like that. What Swami says story, that means there was a Shiva Bhakta in India, devotion to Shiva. So he was so much devoted to Shiva that he could not tolerate any mention of Vishnu. But there were many Vishnuites in India. So he found a method how to avoid listening to any talk about Vishnu. The earlobes were perforated and two bells were attached to the ears. So whenever he would hear about Vishnu, he would shake his head so that the bells would ring, so he would not hear much about Vishnu. Now Shiva appeared in dream to him and said that you are a fool. I am everything. I am also Vishnu. So you need not be fanatic. He replied to Shiva that whatever you may say, but I do not want to hear anything about Vishnu. Now one day he purchased a little incense and he worshipped his god with this incense. The story goes that the incense smoke came out and it divided itself into two parts, one part looking like Shiva, another part looking like Vishnu. So then the man jumped up and put his fingers under the nose of Vishnu, so that Vishnu would not smell anything of this incense. So at that point, Shiva was irritated and he cursed this man, saying that he will be a demon. So this demon with the two bells in the ear, Swami says he's the father of all fanatics in the world. So in fact, this is actually like this, because the state of religion, if you go to religious people, if you talk, not the talk in the interreligious platforms, people hide their sentiments in such platforms. But when you go to these persons and hear them talking with their mind free, then you understand. This is still lingering in the world, and it will take a long time for humanity to go beyond this, because there is no, you go by the ordinary people who are professing religion, they go by doctrines, not by practice. If you have purity and practice, you may have many wrong ideas. These ideas will vanish by the grace of God. So that point has to be remembered. Then, see, he made this point that this ideal person, especially in modern days, should have both. That means that they have intensity of the fanatic, and they should have the liberal view of those who are not fanatics. These things should be combined in the same person, because he has seen this in Sri Ramakrishna, and so it is that is the ideal of the modern age. For the preparation, you say Bhakti Yoga in different books, it is different things are there. In, for example, the Bhagavata Purana, Smaranam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, etc., Navadha, 9-step. Or if you go to the Bhagavad Gita, the 12th chapter is Bhakti Yoga. There is a few shlokas where something like 30 or more qualities are mentioned, which a bhakta must have. So it is a long list. Swamiji resumes all these things. He says that a longing for spirituality should be there, purity and perseverance. Of course, this is necessary not only for Bhakti Yoga, anything. Without purity and without perseverance, you do not make progress. You may have full grasp of the doctrines, but you do not make progress, and your problems of life will not be solved. What are the problems of life? Janma, Jara, Vyadhi, Mrityu. These are the problems. With the Janma, you have this mind, and this mind is occupied with the external world, and in most cases, it is gathering dukkha. There is sukha, but dukkha predominates. Then man is confronted with the old age, when your faculties are dwindling, and not only that, a fear comes to his mind. That I am here, and there is your, the exit is very soon or very proximate. This is the fear. Not only exit, they think of annihilation. I am on the brink of being annihilated. And there is disease, which is a physical thing, sometimes mental also. And finally, mrityu. That means the fall of the body. Something which was composed is on the verge of decomposition. These are the problems of human life. You say, The problems are solved if you are first convinced about the existence of the soul, and then you have made progress for realizing it by any method. And Swamiji would explain to the Western audience a different method. He also explained during Bhakti Yoga that any symbol can be taken. So he tells a story. The story is an adaptation from the Upanishadic story. That means the unlettered wisdom. He talks of a cowherd boy who went to a yogi and asked him, "Sir, please teach me something about God." The yogi, said that you are a dull person, you are a cowherd, how can you say, go from here? It's again this man came to the yogi. "Sir, please teach me." Again he was ignored. When he came the third time, the yogi said that you have this bull, strong bull, the God is the bull. So the man took it very literally, and he was almost worshipping his bull, bringing the greenest things possible for him, for feeding it. He used to give the bull a bath very, carefully and with much veneration. So the light gradually came to him, because for him this was the chosen ideal, the bull. And through that devotion, through that the purity came, he was enlightened. So he went to the yogi again. The yogi saw that he is a transfigured person. He is something. He said that, "Who has taught you?" He said, "Sir, you have taught me. You have shown me the way, this bull, etc." So this really does happen like this. As I have said, that Gaurdashi, Gaurima, she had a stone as a symbol and made progress. The Agarmani Devi, she had just in the temple this image of child Krishna, which was her Ishta. And this child Krishna appeared to him and lived with him 3 months. So such things do happen. The Holy Mother says that she bought from a certain place a baby Krishna, Bala Gopala they call it. She said that one day the little your Krishna was crawling to her and saying that, "You have brought me here, but you do not give me any food, you do not offer me anything. Do I not feel hunger?" From then on, the Holy Mother began to give this little image of food every day. So these are the things, even dull things, dead matter, that begins to reflect the glory and power of God. So, and we have also what happened, you do not know. He was almost 29 or 30 years old. And I am talking about the founder of Sikhism. He went to take a bath, and there was a servant with him, and he went to the river and he vanished. So finally, the servant thought that he is dead. After 2 days, Nanak appeared and people saw that he's full of light. Something has happened. So such things do happen. And Swamiji mentions that this idol, icon, etc., this chosen ideal, etc., these are all preparatory steps till your spirituality is awakened. And once the spirituality is awakened, all these things become unnecessary. All these rituals, all these forms, everything vanish because you have attained the goal. And he says in this case that most people in the world, they are born in a religion. That means religion means a form, a place of worship, a book, etc. And they die in it. They do not grow anything, you say. So Swami used to say that it is good to be born in the religion, but it is not good to die in it. That means you must burst these shells of a religion. These are the preliminaries, and most people remain there and do not make progress. Then he mentions that finally you come to, if you are taking bhakti yoga, you come to the highest bhakti when you develop tremendous love for God, because you have been in connection with that God and He is full of love. And the same thing he would mention that through philosophical analysis, Jnana Yoga, etc., you come to the same point. Through Raja Yoga also, you come to the same point, though the disciplines are different. And requirements in the beginning, they are also a little different. And he reminded that this God, which is worshipped by the people in the path of devotion, Bhakti Yoga, is nothing but Brahman. Only this is sin through the apparatus of the mind. As sin is the apparatus of the mind, you think that it is separate from you, etc. But there is a point, if you rise higher and higher, even in Bhakti Yoga, which is mentioned, you see, there is a talk between Rai Ramananda and Chaitanya. And Rai Ramananda mentions, see, when he mentions this Mudura Bhava, Chaitanya said that it is excellent. But is there anything higher than that? First, Rai Ramananda said that I do not know of anything higher than this, but I have heard something like Prema Vilasa Vivarta. So please explain it, Chaitanya said. Then Rai Ramananda said that it is not that I am the woman and you are the man. Finally, everything is mingled, you say, etc. When he said this, Chaitanya rose up and with his hand shut the mouth of Rai Ramananda, hinting thereby that human expression, you cannot go beyond this. That means what Swamiji was hinting at, that through all paths you come to the same point. As Sri Ramakrishna had Vedanta from a guru, but much before that he had Vedanta in the Sanctum Sanctorum. He said, the mother has shown me that the image, I myself, puja vessels, the marble floor, the wooden threshold, everything is Chinmay. So I began to shower petals in all directions like a madman. At that point, a cat sneaked into the sanctum sanctorum. I fed it with the luchi. Luchi means what they call puri in much part of India. That is, in Bengal, they call it luchi. So the luchi, which is to be offered to the deity, he gave it to the cat. And then he says that he came out of the sanctum sanctorum and found a wicked person. He wanted to scold him, but he could not. He saw that the power of the Divine Mother is shining in that person also. So this is Vedanta, everything is God. He came to it through devotion. And he reminded that in Bhakti Yoga, we must begin as a dualist. Then gradually, you rise higher and higher, and you understand that there is a full blaze of light, that you are never different from him. So this bhakti, you see, becomes a sort of Buddhism, Advaita itself. He says, behind the eternity of time was the timeless Brahman, into whom both worshipper and worshipped must disappear, for both all along were he. Indeed, the culmination of all yoga was neither to love, not to know, but to be. Because loving and knowing is also processes. Finally, you become. Naked in itself, the soul has not knowledge, existence, and blessedness as its qualities. They are the essence of the soul. That means it is not that the soul knows. That's why your Shankaracharya, the dictum in the Taittiriya, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. He points out that what does it mean? First of all, the ultimate truth is limitless existence. That is Satya. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. So Shankara says that it is limitless and there is Jnanam also. So he points out that it is not that the ultimate truth knows everything. It is the limitless knowledge that is the ultimate truth. So Swami also is saying this thing. Naked in itself, the soul has not knowledge, existence, and blessedness as its qualities. They are the essence of the soul. And when he took up Karma Yoga, he mentioned that through Karma Yoga also, you get to the point where Buddha, which was obtained by Buddha mainly by meditation, and by Christ through love and prayer. So Karma Yoga also, because Karma Yoga means finally it is a gradual teaching in renunciation. When you begin to work without a selfish motive, you are practicing renunciation. And when the renunciation is perfected, then the soul becomes pure and you get this. And he was totally convinced about this, that through Karma Yoga also you can attain. Regarding this point, there are many standard worshippers in India, aspirants, sadhakas, who have doubt. Swami Vivekananda had doubt on this point. He asked his guru, Swami Brahmananda, about it. So Brahmananda did not reply. He said that go and ask Mahapurush Maharaj. So he asked Mahapurush Maharaj. Mahapurush Maharaj said something which was ambiguous. Mahapurush Maharaj said that you should do this, what you are doing, and even if you have some defect in it, we are there to rectify it. So this did not satisfy Vivekananda. He went to Swami Turiyananda, and especially the scholar in Belumort, Tarasar Pandit, he said that through these karmas you will never have mukti, liberation. It is not possible. So with this message he went to Turiyananda-ji, and Turiyananda-ji was walking with a stick. Hearing this, he stopped walking, raised his stick and said that go to Belur and tell Tarasar Pandit that since Swami Vivekananda has said so, it must be true. Once in my presence, I found Swami Santacharananda-ji, who is a child of the Holy Mother, talking to Swami, who was a senior monk and a trustee of Belur and a disciple of Mahapurush Maharaj. This Swami was criticizing the modern Swamis who are doing work. So at some point, went much further. So Swami Santasananda, he had the stick, he was sitting, he took his stick and struck against the ground and said that, what do you mean? We are working all our lives, we have nothing attained. We will certainly attain something. He put his hand on his chest and said, if you have love. And this I saw him, you see, he was a person who was full of love, even for the servants, even for the poor students, what to speak of Swamis, he was full of love. So that is it, that means through Karma Yoga also people may attain. But even in spite of Karma Yoga, Swami Santarananda, even on his last day, I have seen him sitting 5 times a day for formal adoration. Another point he made during his talk, that the duty, question of duty, the duties will vary according to your progress in life. Normally, duties, Swamiji said, that you have some attachment, and this attachment you see, baptize it with the name of duty and shower praises on it. So, but if you scrutinize it, finally you will find that it is nothing but attachment. You are calling it duty. So be careful, because doing the duty is not the highest ideal in life, because duty has a sense of compulsion. To rise in yoga, you must rise above compulsion, you must do it through love. And he also put out the idea that the ordinary person should resist the evil. If he does not, he is making a sin. But when you have attained the highest, your spiritual goal, you do not resist. His famous words, you see, in this respect, which became vital during the trials through which India passed, especially after the independence. Because India's independence, contrary to popular belief, it was through bloodbath, you see, in certain parts of India. So it became very vital. Swamiji said, I am giving his original writings are in Bengali. I am giving a free rendering of it. He said, non-violence is a correct doctrine. and absence of malice is really a very big expression. But the scriptures of the Hindus are declaring that since you are a householder, if someone slaps you on one cheek, you should return it 7 times. Precisely at that point, the Buddhists got confused and they did so much harm in our history. What harm? Swami doesn't explain here. Harm was that especially Emperor Ashoka, he preached this non-violence. He made his army not operative. And so India could not resist versus the hordes which came to conquer India, and there was so much of bloodshed, so much of fear. They could not resist it because they had this legacy of non-resistance. That was the harm. And so he says, since you are a householder, for the householder resistance is necessary. So when trouble began, you see, and genocides were organized by the highest executive of the country, I'm talking about Bengal, then my guru, under his name, wrote that the scriptures of the Hindus and the teachings of Swami Vivekananda teach us that if there is someone who is about to kill you, you are entitled to kill that person. This was very important because a confusion was spread in the country, and by Mahatma Gandhi, and as the then Congress president said, that there was once a torch in the hands of Mahatma Gandhi, and we followed him. It seems that Mahatma Gandhi has lost his torch. So these words were very much, you see, these are, he says here, but this became very, very important in the time of India's independence, of which the 75th year is being celebrated everywhere now. So he says that you must be active, and activity means resistance. You must resist all evil, mental and physical, and when you have succeeded in resisting, then calmness will come. Then you have reached the goal, then resistance is not necessary. Let us stop here, and I will invite questions.
I have a question, Victor. Swamiji, Swami Vivekananda said that the culmination of yoga is to be, not to love or not to know. But isn't bliss or love the essence of pure being? Because if you looked at Thakur, when he would commune with the Divine Mother, his hair would stand on end, he would smile, he would go into samadhi, and then one would assume that he was in pure being. But wasn't that pure being the highest expression of love?
Yes, pure being is the highest expression of love. But Swamiji is saying that loving and knowing, that means when you are attempting to do it. When attempting to do it, say for example, the ordinary bhakta, during his puja, he gathers things, he goes through rituals, etc., etc. These are attempts at loving. If you have love, you cannot do these things. Puja rituals will fall, as they fell in the case of Ramakrishna. He could not do. So before that, you are in the process. When love comes, these things do not exist then. All these processes, all these rituals.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Yes.
Maharaj, about the Madhur Bhav, Madhura Bhav, can you elaborate again, is it?
Madhura Bhava is, you see, according to Bengal Vaishnavas, at least what we know from the books. Of course, Sri Ramakrishna depicted Sri Chaitanya Dev in with another language, anyhow. But in the normal books about Chaitanya Deva, etc., they take the Shanta Bhava as the lowest Bhava. Shanta Bhava, God is immanent in everything. There is God. This attitude is for them lowest bhava, that means the lowest spiritual mood. The spiritual mood where there is the lowest intensity. Then higher than that is dasya. You are the servant of the Lord. Then sakhya. Sakhya means you are the friend of the Lord. Then vatsalya. Lord is your child. As you love your child, all parents love their child. So you love God. And finally, Madhura Bhava, the Bhava which, as they explain it, whether you are man or woman, in relation to God, you are a woman. And God is the man. That is not very important. What is important is, it is the great sentiment which exists between the spouses. So applying that in spiritual life, that is Madhura Bhava. But Sri Ramakrishna used to say that, you see, he says that, do you know that why I broke my arms? I was crossing the railway lines, and at that time I had this Madhura Bhava. So I wanted to hug the Lord, and then I fell. And he says, these things should not be heard of by the ordinary jivas, because ordinary jivas are sense-bound. With the tremendous purity of heart, you say, we know of only one Swami in Belur Math who used to practice it. So that is called Madhura Bhava.
Thank you.
And it was much highlighted by Chaitanya Deva and his disciples in Vrindavan, the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan.
Swami, you have a question.
Yes.
As you are progressing on this path of devotion, how do you know that you're making progress? What indicators do you see?
As in all yogas, the indication is your, first of all, whether your attraction for worldly things is diminishing or not. That is first sign. Second sign, whether you are getting more joy without anything outward, you see. Something has not given you a present or a good food, but you are enjoying tremendous peace of mind and joy. Along with that, the force. You see, these are the signs that you are progressing.
Thank you.
Yes.
I also have a question, Swamiji.
Yes.
So it is told that a spiritual aspirant on the Bhakti Marga has to stick to one ideal. But
in the beginning, they should cling to one ideal, because otherwise they will spend their energy in different directions.
Yes, Swamiji. So my question will be, in Hinduism, there are so many festivals of gods and goddesses, which can also not be ignored. So what is the best way to integrate all the other gods and goddesses into the spiritual life of an aspirant?
You see, sometimes, for example, I have seen it in the South, they have a huge platform on which very different types of gods are placed and worshipped. This is liberal, no doubt, but it is not conducive to progress if you are giving attention to so many things. If you are serious about your spiritual life, you must take up one, not others. At the same time, you must know from the very beginning that these are different forms, so you should respect. It is like, for example, you are entering into a restaurant and you are ordering for a food. And with you, some other people are there on the same table, they are ordering different foods. You are liking your food, but do you disrespect their choice? It is like that. You stick to your thing. That's why your Tulsidas said, there is a saying of Tulsidas, Sabse bosiye, sabse rosiye, sabka lijiye nam, haji haji katte rahiye baithe apna tham. That means the devotee should sit with everyone, should have pleasant words with everyone. And you should ask their name, how are you doing? Is your family okay? You do it to everyone. But you do not swerve from your chosen path. That is the Nishtha idea of Nishtha. Sabse gusiye, sabse rasiye, sabka lijiye nam, haji haji katte rahiye baithe apne tham. You do not enter into argument with others. You say, yes, yes, you are right, you are correct, but stick to your own ideal.
So, Swamiji, one question regarding this is also, if we have our Ishtam, and we have also these other festivals where we are taking part. So, as a Bhakta and having your own Ishtam, is it possible to integrate these other gods and goddesses into your own Ishtam so there is no conflict?
Not in the beginning. Not in the beginning. If you are very serious about it, for example, you are preparing for an examination, and you like singing, you like dancing, etc., etc. Just before your day of the examination, you should not devote your time to singing or dancing. They're not bad. But you should devote your time to your reading, your subject for which you have to sit at the examination. It is something like that. Intensity is necessary.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Swamiji, I have one question.
Yes?
What is Hiranyagarbha?
Hiranyagarbha is a concept, a Vedic concept. It is something like we have explained what is Mahat. You see, it is something like Mahat. That means the cosmic intelligence, the Mahat is something in which the blueprint of the whole universe is there. Hiranyagarbha means, literally it means, it is a golden egg. In later days, in the post-Vedic time, they do not talk about Hiranyagarbha, they talk about Brahma. God is has your three parts: Brahma, who is creating the universe, that is called Brahma, etc. So that is, you see, called Brahma there. So these are the different, you see, names. Not Brahma, Brahma.
Ah,
They
Brahman.
say. Brahman and Brahma, they are different. They say. Brahman is the ultimate truth, absolute. And Brahma is that aspect of God who is creating. And they imagine a form for him, etc. And imagine 4 faces through which he uttered the 4 Vedas. All these human imagination.
Just one quick question.
Yeah.
Giving responsibility to God, surrendering to God, is that the same as sannyasa? Inner sannyasa, perhaps?
Sannyasa means you are giving up everything. Sannyasa. Nyasa means giving up, san is totally. Totally the final giving up is your ego. Is your ego thinking that you are the agent. When you, through Karma Yoga, if you can give up your sense of agency, then you have reached the goal. You are the instrument. Your body, your mind, everything is the instrument. If you understand that your will is also coming from God. The story of Ramakrishna, the wish of Rama, Ramericha. Remember, that is the highest type of bhakta. Everything you take it as coming from God. You do not least trace of, you say. Normally it is name and fame, people cling to it.
Pranam Maharaj. Maharaj, I have a question.
Yes.
With regard to duty, when analyzed, that is arising from attachment, is how I understood. Now, when do we really stop, or when are we ready to rise above the attachment, rise above the duty? Is there...
The duty means when you do something from the duty, that means you are doing it under compulsion.
Right.
There is a duty on you and doing it. That idea of duty must go away and their love must come. You are doing it for the love of the cause, love of the Lord, wherever you may be. The scavenger Rasik, he used to sweep and clean your things. He attained spirituality by complete surrender to Sri Ramakrishna. It is not what you are doing. It is with what attitude you are doing that you make progress. You may be anywhere in life, still you can make progress. For example, the story of Rabaiya. Rabaiya was a slave girl from Africa. She rose so high, you see, and her master saw her in prayer and understood the glory of this slave girl and released her from slavery.
And initially, Maharaj, it is about, so when I try to correlate this with the Gita's Shreyas versus Prayas, in our regular life, we normally do come up with that thinking that, what is my right duty given my stature or station in life, right? So we are driven by that thought of duty.
Yes, normally we do it through the sense of duty, but you must bring in love to it. From anything, you may be a postman, you may be, say, thinking that you are serving the Lord, then you rise very high. It is not the kind of duty, you say. That's why you find even in epics that this Guhak, who was a Chandala, and that was the handle dead bodies, that is their duty. And he was blessed by Rama.
Thanks to everybody for the questions and also to Swamiji for the answers. I guess we should complete our session by at least one meditation, Swamiji. So if you could give us one topic, so we would have 6 minutes of meditation in silence.
Think of this, you see what I have told about Sri Ramakrishna's vision in the Sanctum Sanctorum. That means suddenly he saw that everything is full of divine light, you see, around, and he began to shower petals in all directions. And then finally when the cat entered, he even offered the things to be offered to the deity, to the cat. Think of all these things, and that should be our meditation.